I'll be kiss me from the stars when you're looking cause of me. I'll be kiss me from the stars when you're in a galaxy. Start the video. Hello everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonesy. Today we are reading pages 61 to 80 and this will be the end of the Blackbird and we'll know about what the heck is happening to Noel and his night terrors and stuff. And we'll see the ending of it. Will Noel survive? That's for us to find out. Oh, without further ado, let me get comfortable. Let's begin. Sorry if it starts off a little loud. That's kind of how I left it off last time. Aiming to speak directly into Noel's right eye, the Blackbird went even closer. Noel knew his eye was closed because he wasn't asleep, but in the dream world, his eyes were open to see a beak move lower and lower. At the same time, the weight ramming down on him got heavier and heavier. Noel's chest was being crushed under the feathered mass. Even though he knew it was no good, Noel wriggled and jerked himself back and forth, trying to throw off the hideous creature. He concentrated on trying to get free of his legs and made things worse. His legs started to spasm, and he felt like something was trying to tear him off his body. The pain of his limbs was excruciating. The sound had morphed, too. The high-pitched tones abated, only replaced by a combination of crackling static, a loud hum, interrupted by regular intervals by a deafening zap sound, and it reminded Noel of electric bug zappers his father kept in the back deck. Only the zap was not designed for his mosquitoes. It was turned something the size of a pterodactyl. Noel realized he could no longer breathe. The weight on his chest was flattening his lungs and stopping his heart. He felt like he was being dragged into some other realm, the Blackbird's realm, and that's when he left this world. The world he realized he wasn't granted for life. His body began to tingle. The tingles sped up, and they became vibrations as fast and powerful that felt like every cell in his body was palpitating like space. Faster and faster, his body vibrated, and began to emit a droning sound. Brrr. Noel tried to scream, but he couldn't even use his mouth. He realized he couldn't feel his mouth or the rest of his body. He was just paralyzed. He was numb. All left of Noel was his consciousness. His mind was still functioning fine. In fact, his functioning was too well. It was giving him relentless rundown of the system-wide failure in his body. Noel's existence receded further and further into the inky feathered oblivion. The noise coincided. The pain intensified. Noel was sure he was about to verge of annihilation. Then it all stopped. Except for the vice grip on his arm, the annoying jostling of the shoulder, and the sound of someone yelling, "Dude!" And Noel opened his eyes. Ian let go of his arm and shoulder, and backed away from the bed. "Dude!" he repeated, but in a lower volume. Noel realized he was in a bath and sweat, and his skin felt clammy, and his clothes stuck to him. He ached all over. "Are you okay?" Ian asked. Noel couldn't answer the question. He just shook his head and then nodded. "I could clear things up." Ian, wearing only red boxer shorts covered in charging bulls, dropped into Noel's desk chair. Noel looked up to him. He'd never been the big guy look up so shook up. He'd never seen Ian in his room before either. They only hung out when the other frat brothers were around, usually in the main lounge downstairs. "How'd you get in here?" Noel asked. Ian blinked, then twisted his mouth guilty a little kid way. "Oh, I sort of broke your door." He looked over the door jam, splintering his door hanging on a hinge. "Sorry," Ian said. "I thought you were dying." Noel returned his gaze over to Ian and raised an eyebrow. "That heard everything made us sound like that, dude." Ian said, "It was so loud but really low, like a grunting of sort, like you were trying to get a crazy scream but someone was a hand over your mouth, and there were all these thuds and thumps. I thought someone was trying to kill you, so I broke the door to get in." Tears filled Noel's eyes. He was weirdly touched. Then fizzes of terror skirted along his skin. What if he'd been dying? What would be happened to Ian if he busted in his room and wake him? Would the Blackbird have been able to take Noel to another, dimension, realm, level of hell? He realized that Ian was waiting for him to say something. "Thanks, Ian. I was stuck in a really nasty nightmare. You got me out of it." Ian shrugged. "Well, good. It seemed pretty bad." He looked at Noel. "Are you sure you're okay?" Noel nodded. Nothing a hot shower and some food won't solve." He sat up and tried to ignore the room-spinning sensation that triggered a wave of nausea. Ian said, "Okay, well." Noel wasn't sure it was about to stand yet, but he didn't. "Sorry about your door," Ian said. "I can fix it for you." He strode to the door and looked at it. "I just need to get a couple things from the hardware store." "You don't need to do that. It's my fault you broke it." Ian shook his head. "Nah, I want to. I like fixing things. I'll take my mind off the makeup nurse's test later today. I need to pass it, so I need to keep playing ball." Noel nodded. "Let me know if you ever need help with any classwork." Ian looked closer at him, probably to see if Noel was jerking his chain. He wasn't. He might have been the day before, giving dumb jock a hard time, just not today. Ian said thanks. He went through the snail unguarded opening of Noel's domain. "Ian?" Oh, called, "Yeah? If you had to find someone in your past, like from junior high or something, what would you do? I mean, they aren't online." I don't know. "Do you know their parents?" Noel snapped his fingers. "That's brilliant. Yes, thanks. Great. Thanks again, Ian, for breaking in." Ian shrugged. "Any time." "I hope not," Noel muttered, and Ian went back to his own room. Noel stood. For the second time that day, he headed for the showers. In the shower, he chastised himself for being so dense. He knew Christine Wilbur's parents were still in the town when their dad owned Wilbur's Eats, a popular greasy spoon diner downtown. He could get no forgotten that. One of the things he knew also that Christine had been bullying her was so you've eaten everything in the dad's menu 1,000 times? What would you recommend? Noel groaned in the memory and turned the water cold. He flinched at the icy bite that shocked his skin. But he both needed to deserve the jolt. It would help him to what he would know and knew he needed to do. Noel was relieved to find Wilbur's eats mostly empty. When he arrived, only one silver vinyl bloof was taken by an elderly couple picking through scrambled eggs and hash browns, and only one red vinyl stool was occupied by a sleepy-looking guy in a janitor's uniform. He was drinking coffee and methodically plowing through a large piece of cherry pie. The dinner smelled like a diner, a good one. The aromas came from the food, a weird but unpleasant mix of onions, fried chicken, apples, and chocolate, and the coffee, not from the grease. Clunky and the sizzling sound made from behind the low divider wall separating the dining room and the kitchen. There was a large pass-through for the food, and the next thing it hung to one of those carousel things flip orders do. It was empty. A thin woman with a limp, dyed blonde hair turned to greet Noel when he entered. Sit wherever you want, she waved in the hand and returned to her chore. She was starting a new pot of coffee. The woman wore a pinkish uniform dress and bright apron. Her name tag read Lois. Noel wanted to sit. She wanted to get on with it, so he approached the counter near an old-fashioned cash register. He shifted from one foot to another. Lois turned and raised an eyebrow. Do you want to take out? No, thank you. I need to see Mr. Wilbur. Is he here now? Lois chuckled. Sure he is. He practically lives here now. All he does is all the cooking. Lois rotated toward the kitchen. Earl, get out here. Someone's asking for you. Noel clenched his fist. He wasn't looking forward to this conversation. He looked up and watched a very short man push through the swinging door to the right food pass-through. No wonder Noel ever got a glimpse of the man. He was barely 5 feet tall, and he was thin. That was a surprise. Oh, sir, Noel held out his hand. My name's Noel Markman. Earl Wilbur grinned and shook Noel's hand. Good to meet you. Earl was missing a front tooth. Somehow that added to his friendly smile. Unlike his fair-haired daughter, Earl had a brown hair and brown eyes. But Noel could see Christina's man's face. Or would it be another way around? Both had bow-shaped mouths, wide cheekbones, and close-set eyes. And what can I do for you, Earl? Wilbur asked. His manner was deferential. Noel had been trying to think of a smooth way to bring up the subject of finding Christine, and he had to come up with a thing. So he burst out of it. Sir, I need to find your daughter, Christine. I was hoping you could tell me where she is. Earl Wilbur's friendly expression didn't change. He just said, that right. He leaned it elbow on the counter across the Noel. Noel noticed Earl Wilbur's forearm was cross-hatched with the little burn scars from short order cooking. Well, why is that? Earl asked. And you sweet on her? Lois asked. Her voice was low and scratchy. Earl laughed and patted her on the shoulder. Well, now, Lois, I expect that's his business. Outside, the sun disappeared so abruptly everyone in the diner turned to look through the picture window. Black storm clouds were tumbling across the side. Beneath the clouds, right under the diner, a huge hunch of feather forms shuffled past. What? Noel did a double take. You had just seen that, or had he imagined it? He looked around to check if anyone else had seen it. The elderly woman in the booth was looking past the elderly man's shoulder, and her gaze focused on the clouds, and her face pinched in what would have been fear or worry. But maybe it was just she didn't like storms. Whether he saw it or made it up, Noel had a feeling he needed to get a move on. Looking back at Christine's dad, Noel said, I'm going to tell you the truth, even though that makes me look like really bad, but he shrugged. I was in junior high with Christine, and I was a bully. I wasn't nice to her at all, and I hated to tell her how sorry I am that I was so, mean to her. And this is one of those make amends things? Lois asked Noel. Not in any official way, I just need to know I'm sorry. And Earl Wilbur drove to jaw. You, the boy who threw burrs at her? Noel scrunched up his face in pure embarrassment. He looked down. Yeah, that was me. When Wilbur didn't say anything, Noel looked at the man. He expected to see anger in the man's eyes, but he always saw was compassion. Earl Wilbur set his gaze for several seconds. Noel squirmed, but he didn't break off the connection. He had his face what he'd done. That better way the victim's father eye. Finally, Earl Wilbur said, okay, I'll tell you where she is. She's such a sweet girl, Lois said. Noel ignored the sob and nausea and accepted the directions Earl Wilbur gave him. Then he went outside, making sure he didn't look up, and hurried to his car. Noel's car wasn't much of a car. Truthfully, it was basically an old piece of junk on wheels. It was a piece of junk in the fact that Noel never admitted he owned a car. He kept it in his grandfather's house, and he only drove it when necessary. And the car was built many, many, many years before. And it was a cool car, but too many owners, too many miles, too many fender benders, and just plain too much time turned the car into a barely hanging together collection of rusted red metal and engine parts that barely managed most of the time to get Noel where he needed to go. Today, he was going to be pushing it. He only had to go about 35 miles with the small campus where Christine and sophomore school was up in the mountains. The school is a music arts college, according to Christine's dad. The storm clouds had been hanging around, and they made Noel very, very nervous. Whenever he accidentally glanced up at the sky, he saw feathered wings beating in the billowing clouds. He also kept seeing immense black feathered shapes scrambling along the wake of a straining vehicle. Every time that happened, he pushed the accelerator pedal harder, which didn't help at all. He barely had it pressed to the floor. Noel's car was struggling predictably into the uphill drive. And after about 50 minutes, however, Noel arrived at the fancy modern cement archway over a narrow road that led to a small collection of glass and cement sculptural structures that nearly sang out artsy as Errol Wilbur had instructed. Noel followed the road and held it as wove through the two inverted triangle-shaped buildings and took Noel right into the parking lot of an asymmetrical four-story dorm. As soon as Noel turned off the car, the thunder rumbled not very far enough away distance. A big drop of water hit Noel's arm when he got out of the car. Refusing to look around, he trotted toward the dorm. Not even without seeing the oppressor, he knew it was there. He could hear the elaborate lugging of feathers across the pavement, and he could feel the air currents behind and around him shift as the hunter closed in. Noel was sweating by the time he got inside the dorm. The nausea had started at the diner had grown and been joined by a pounding headache. Now Noel was starting to feel lightheaded. He had to hurry. Practically running through the sprawling lounge, his shoulder blades tingling the sensation of being tracked. Noel glanced at a few girls sprawling in plush sectional sofas, chatting away. Oddly, he realized that he was put in a lounge behind him, that he had no idea which the girls looked like and what they were wearing. He felt like his eyesight was getting blurry. The building smelled like cloves, and he remarkably quiet for a dorm. Only the faintest hint of sound would be heard in the distance. It was a little after 5 p.m., and Earl Wilbur had Noel and Christine for nearly always in her dorm at this time of day. Oh, because she ate early before going to practice. Earl didn't say what kind of practice. Noel easily found the room number Earl had given him. Leaning against the wall and steadying himself, Noel raised a hand and knocked. "Come in," a cheerful musical voice called. It sounded a little like Christine, but it was too upbeat to be heard. Noel opened the door and looked around the room and froze, staring. The room only had one person in it, a girl, and the girl was obviously Christine. He might have doubted if he hadn't been Earl Wilbur had, but this girl had her dad's features and not his coloring. Christine was still blonde and freckled as she'd been in junior high school. She was still slightly crooked teeth than she remembered, but otherwise he was very different from Christine Wilbur. "Hi, are you looking for Claire? Huh? My roommate." Noel shook his head and he was having trouble staying upright. His legs felt weak, and something pushed against his back and down his shoulders, as trying to pile drive him to the floor. "Then who are you looking for?" Christine asked. He twisted her nose in a twitchy way that made her in junior high, but she didn't seem to be anything behind Noel. He tried to tell himself for the 100th time that he was imagining things. When Noel didn't answer, Christine said, "I think you have the wrong room." She tilted her head in a sentence question. Christine sat at the school desk similar to Noel's. He had a book open in front of her, and she had a classic container of salad. It was nearly empty. When Noel didn't answer Christine, she looked down and forked up a cucumber. He bit into the cucumber, and it was a distinctive scent and filled the air. So did her crunching sounds. Noel kept staring. Christine Wilbur sat cross-legged in the desk chair, and one bare feet kept time and music just have been in her head. She wasn't wearing earbuds. She was dressed in full-length, skin-tight, light blue leotard. Christine Wilbur wasn't overweight anymore. She was obviously as fit as Noel was. But that wasn't the only way she was different. Although she still had some facial features, quirky expressions, Christine held herself in the air of confidence. That made it clear she was a very different girl from the one she'd known in junior high. The Noel's mental processors were struggling to keep up with the unexpected information. The neural pathways were announcing, "This input does not compute." "Do you talk?" Christine asked. He hesitated and worked the mouth and trying to find the right words. Then he said, "I'm not being mean or anything. It's just that you're standing there staring." She clasped her hand again and shrugged. Noel shook her head and tried to recite a circus. "You don't remember me?" he asked. "That's the first thing you say?" Christine laughed. He remembered that laugh. He only heard it once in junior high when he watched her play with a ferret someone had brought in the show and tell. Her laugh was so pleasing, trill, that made you want to laugh too. She sat down and sighed. "Okay, let's see." He stared at him and looked at her. "Nope, I don't remember you." "Should I?" "I would." "You would what?" "I'd remember me if I were you. I mean." Noel pressed his hand to his forehead. Christine shrugged again. "Why don't you just tell me who you are?" Noel blew out air. "Okay." A couple of girls came down the hall behind Noel. They were singing at the top of their lungs. She waited until they were well past, trying to ignore the fact that they had been followed by that swishing thumping sound that told him his feathered nemesis was nearby. He opened his mouth, but he found he couldn't get the words out, and his eyes filled with tears. He had to swallow. Christine frowned. "Hey, are you okay?" Noel's eyes got even wetter. "She was so nice. I was the guy who bullied you in junior high," he said, his words fast, like peeling off a guilt bandage. "Which one?" Christine asked. Noel blinked. She shrugged and twitched her nose. "The hate on Christine crew was pretty big. I was the thing. I threw birds on you." Noel felt like he was about an inch tall. He could only understand why he ever felt it was so funny, either when he did it or when Sam told him about it. "Oh, that was you?" She focused on the subtle blue eyes in him. "I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name." "Noel Markham." She nodded. "I think I remember you. You didn't have all that hair then. You were skinnier too. No muscle. No blush. He was been pretty slight in the junior high. That made him think he was so great and made fun of someone else." He wiped his still wet eyes. Christine stood and zipped across the room toward him as quickly as she flew, extraordinarily elegant and precise in her movement. Noel stiffened, not sure what she was going to do. She hugged him. It wasn't at all how he thought it was to go. At first, Noel just stood there, his arms rigid in sides, but then a combination of her sincere kindness and the honey-sweet scent of her hair realized his resistance. He hugged her back, blinking away his tears. Christine let him go and stepped away. She was so close to all her freckles and threw dark flecks in her blue eyes. That wasn't an I forgive you hug, she said. That was a thank you. What? Christine motioned for him to come into the room, and he did, sitting in her roommate's desk chair. When Christine pulled out, he returned to her desk, sat, and rotated her chair to face Noelle. Clasping her hands together, she said, I'm not going to tell you what I let you off the hook for bullying, but it looks like you really are sorry. I really am, Noel said sincerely. He was surprised how truly sorry he was. He nodded and thought a few seconds and said haltingly, I'm going to tell you just because I learned something from it. And I figured maybe I could pass it on. In junior high, my mom was always on my case about everything. I felt like crap about myself. You and the others kept putting me down, which also didn't help. To be honest, I barely remember you. But I remember how bad I felt all the time. Eventually, though, I stopped feeling bad, and I got angry. I decided to treat myself well, and I liked to dance, and I started dancing and have fun. You know, just alone in my bedroom. And I started doing it in a real studio, and I found out I'm actually pretty good at it. When the music swept me up, nothing else mattered. Of course, my mom loved the dancing, helped me lose weight, but that wasn't enough to make her happy. I think part of me still always struggled on some level with that. Noel stood, opened his mouth to protest. He came over and waved him off. Don't. It's okay. See? That's the thing. All that boy forced me to step up and love myself. No matter what I can see in the mirror and what people say about me, I know my value. I'm always here to dance scholarship. You so see? Sometimes when something bad happens, it leads to something good. Noel nodded. Christine looked directly at him. So I forgive you. You can let it go. I'm fine. Noel's eyes teared up again. He wiped them in the back of his hand. Christine looked over Noel's shoulder. She patted and squeezed his hand. And then he walked out into the hallway and she closed her door. Noel sagged against the wall and he realized no longer felt a presence lingering nearby. No more feathers. The hallway was silent. His headache was gone. Noel rolled his head from side to side and shrugged. Then released his shoulders. His tension was gone, too. It was all gone. He felt like he was just bound a backpack full of bricks. Noel smiled a little and picked up his way through the dorms in lounge. He waved at the girls. He could see them clearly now. It was dressed in leotards like Christine's. Outside, Noel wasn't surprised to find the sun plowing its way in the clouds. He had closed his eyes and breathed in the air, scented by miniature gardens growing in the planter in the edge of the parking area. He hadn't noticed those on the way in. He started toward his car and his phone rang. Reaching in his pocket, Noel pulled out the phone and answered it. Hello? The first two words spoken in his ear brought Noel to a stop. As he listened, he started grinning. Then he said, I'm on my way. He ran for his car. Sam was waiting for Noel in front of the film studies building as Noel got back. Sam! Noel shouted. He ran for his friend. Sam raised a crutch and waved it in the air and then put it down Noel to reach him. Noel grabbed Sam and hugged him as best he could. Sam hugged him back enthusiastically. There's my favorite idiot, Sam said. Where are you? You didn't say. I went, Noel waved there. It doesn't matter what happened to you. Noel rolled his eyes. Apparently I've been hanging around you too long. Idiocy must be catching. Noel smacked Sam's shoulder. Ow, hey, wounded guy here. Sam winked. Seriously, I was being dumb and I walked into the tracks with headphones on. Dumb is one word for it. Sam laughed. Yeah, right? So I turned around just in time to see the train and I jumped off the tracks. But jumping has never been something I'm good at. So not only did something on the train gouge my arm as I leaped, he lifted his bandaged arm, I lost my balance and fell down in the pavement and broke my leg. And I had normal-sized legs, I probably would have been fine. Noel laughed. You and your legs. Get over it. Sam ignored Noel. I was trying to drag myself back up and I slipped and ended up sliding all the way down into the cultivar. And I passed out. I guess I was pretty well hidden. I never heard anyone calling for me. And so no one saw me until early this morning. When my parents came back, a couple of cops searched again. Sam punched Noel's arm. I'm happy to see you, man. And not as happy as I am to see you, Noel realizes what he meant really meant it. I'm sorry. He meant by any chances, but just because Sam was there didn't mean the Blackbird was gone. For what? For being such a jackass about bowling thing. You're right. It's not funny. Sam was there in the crutch again. It was oversensitive about it. It's no big deal. No, Noel said. Being thoughtless is a big deal. Sam shook his head. I won't disagree with that, but I have grown stones at a glass house. Huh? I never answered you when you asked if I had secrets. Noel waited. Sam leaned in. Remember I said I was bullied? Noel nodded. Well, I got revenge on one of my bullies by bullying him right back. I played a really mean joke on him just before freshman year. Jerk. Sam laughed. Back at you. Nah, Noel said. No more jerk clones. What? Noel laughed. Oh, it's a joke between Amber and me. Amber and me, huh? I want to hear about that. Want to grab a pizza? Sure, I'm starving. I haven't eaten one since before noon. Why not? Long story. Maybe I'll tell you sometime. The Blackbird will make you tell, Sam said. Noel's heart stuttered. But then Sam laughed. Ooh. And that's the end of that. Hold on. Yeah, we need a nice little clap with that. But yeah, that is the end of the Blackbird. And with that, we go here. We Control C, Control V, and boom. And now we're doing pages. Next time we're doing pages 83 to 100. My breath tastes like chocolate. That's the truth, and I'm not gonna lie about it. Oh my goodness! Woo! Yeah, we got our first movement, and then we're getting our second movement next episode, where we read the book The Real Jake, or the short story The Real Jake. But yeah, the main story, The Blackbird, is done. I don't know if that was the longest story. That was only 4 episodes. The next one is 4 episodes, and the one after that is 4 episodes. So yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, by length, 83 to 159. That is 70 pages. And then you have 162 to 232, which is... Oh, give me a minute. I'll be Kiss Me From the Stars. 38. 60, 70. So that's 70. That's 70. That's 70. And what we just read is 80. So yeah, it was the longest. With the next one being the shortest. And then the second shortest and the third and last one being the shortest. But yeah, besides from that, I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. People like Big Fisher, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time for the story written by, because this book has a weird thing with titles, Andrea Wagner, who also made Blackbird, on page 83, The Real Jake, which I hope is also a play on ties to that one story about Billy Bot. Maybe it is, I don't know. But yeah, see you guys next time.